Hey everybody, hope everyone's having a good and wonderful Friday. I am Fawn. Welcome to Paladins Premier League, of course, and it is indeed Friday. Yesterday we saw a lot of good stuff. We saw PK take it over NIP in this case, and VP once again continuing their reign of terror against SSG, both of those matches being 4-2. However, of course, I'm not alone. I'm with Gore.
Yeah, hey man.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Not much. I'm excited. I think today is going to be probably more interesting than yesterday, which is weird to think yesterday was two really good six-game sets. But today is maybe going to set more of a precedent, maybe give us some more knowledge as to where some of these teams stand, specifically in the first matchup, but even in VP Nights. Like, it's going to just kind of showcase where does everybody fall out, even though, you know, the standings are year-long. Right now, the teams are shuffling.
Right, exactly. I mean, you take into consideration so many different things that happened yesterday. Like SSG were looking so good. They did lose to VP. They lost 4-2, but SSG did extremely well. And after yesterday, of course, you have to update the standings. We're going to take a look and see where everyone is in place right now in terms of the PPL announcements here. Of course, still at number one NIP now with 7 losses. NIP 14-7. Envy following up third. VP now fourth. SSG fifth. Kanga, PK, and Renegades 6th, 7th, and 8th in this case.
And again, this is the whole reason that this is misleading is Virtus Pro's been kind of slapping everybody around when it comes down to it. NIP is sitting in second, but it's because they had such a massive lead early on, right? They garnished so much in the first split without losing. I mean, they were 10-0 at one point before they find those losses. This split, nowhere near the same performance so far, and so that's why it's kind of interesting. They're in second, but that second place feels like it's starting to slip out of their hands, whereas with Virtus Pro in fourth, you definitely have to kind of look towards them as the team kind of rising. But SSG, they're the ones that have, I think, everyone's kind of question on the mind.
Right.
Where do they stand?
Right, exactly. I mean, unrelative to their standings, of course, SSG hasn't had really the time to practice or anything like that. However, they were looking extremely good yesterday. Mittal comes to mind all the time after yesterday. His amazingly dominant performance on Bride Marsh. He did so well just with his Genos play. And of course, this is extremely impressive for a team that we're talking about how they haven't really had the chance to practice. And they're pulling off all this amazing stuff already.
Honestly, I think it falls into the category of how impressive SSG are, and specifically Mittal here, having, like, yesterday was out of his mind. Like, it is something I'm not used to seeing from Mittal, which is a vast improvement, not just for him, but I think for everybody. I mean, last week, you know, they come into it, they hadn't played the game in months. This week, they come into it, and you can tell that they have absolutely been able to put in a lot of time. And one of the things I've said about SSG, I said it yesterday, and I think I even said it last week, but they learn so fast. They pick up a lot really quickly. And as far as adapting in-game goes and out-of-game, like, they have the quickest turnaround for that. Like, that strategy won't work twice against them, and they kind of figure it out pretty quickly. The worst thing for them really in this matchup is just that historically NIP thrashed them. It's always been a 4-0 for them.
Right, exactly. I mean, NIP, of course, was at the top of the ladder. Now it's Vincere there. And NIP have had a sort of rough split. They've been losing to a lot of these more so top-seeded teams. And the thing is that, of course, you can't really mention NIP without talking about a few of the players there. We had just ended up talking about Mittal, SSG side, but Bird in this case, another really powerful, a very prominent support, of course.
Yeah.
And he does so well. Anytime it is, you give him a support, he just knows what to do. He knows where to be at.
There's actually a really interesting moment yesterday, and you know, you get a lot of this. I love the aggression that we're starting to see out of supports, but he's not just doing this with Furia, who you kind of expect to see it. There was a point yesterday they were playing Frog Isle. It was the first map, and yes, they didn't win it, but he was sitting there recognizing that, you know what, I can get damage off. He is healing everybody around him and in between the cooldowns, like having the exact amount of shots that he can get between all of those timers coming up. And it was insane to watch. It was a 2v1, but the damage, there's two DPS players focusing each other, and Bird just happened to be on the side. And Bird's keeping this guy healed, dealing damage to that guy, stand on the point, doing something over there. Like, he's just got 4 or 5 things going for him, and it was just ludicrous with how impressive it was.
Right, of course. And keeping all of that in mind, of course, we have the map ban, see what these guys want. SSG get rid of Ice Mines, NIP get rid of Splitstone Quarry, Ascension Peak, Frozen Guard are both gone for, once again, NIP and SSG. And I'm really excited because SSG have been looking extremely, extremely well. We're going to see where it is that we decide to go for the first map as well. Shadow Desert, a map it is we saw yesterday. And once again, I mean, it is a map that NIP did win on yesterday. They did extremely well. They pulled out the Fury, they pulled out the Grok, and it really held true in this case against SSG.
It's been really, really solid, I think, for them. And they're also going to be playing against SSG in a strong way. I mean, Splitstone Quarry is probably one of SSG's best maps, and taking away, or going to Shattered Desert, I should say, is maybe bringing them to a place they haven't seen as often, right? And especially, again, you're looking at practice, you're looking at the sets they've played the last 2 weeks. This isn't the most picked map in the world, so you don't get to see it too often. If you figure it out, you figure it out. But the biggest thing, I think, to kind of glean from this is a good map for Maeve, who just got banned, and Eevee. And NIP, when Bittner played it yesterday, Eevee looked fantastic. When Alex has been playing it, it's been kind of half and half. Sometimes it's the same old Alex Eevee we expect. Sometimes it's not. But if Freeze gets it on this map, it might be a done deal.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's something you have to be so afraid of. NIP decided to lock in the Atlas first. SSG hovering the Makoa, hovering the Cassie. Now, of course, I believe that they really would want to be able to pick that, because if they get the Makoa, maybe another frontliner, whoever else, it's going to be really bad if Cassie ends up getting through. But in that same vein of things, Makoa Khan, now that's something that's really, really scary that is going to be opposing NIP in their draft already. Now, what's interesting here is that, of course, one thing it was that I remember that VP mentioned yesterday was that what makes SSG so impressive right now is in such a short amount of time, their drafts have changed. And, of course, they have to because of the new patch.
They do such good homework. They understand the teams they're playing, and they pick up very quickly, like, what is the quote-unquote meta, right? And, like, right now, you know, you're still seeing Torvald banned. The update, you know, that came through Wednesday that most people are playing on is not here for the Premier League just yet. That'll come in next week. But you're still going to be looking at, I mean, some of these things changing. Specifically with Torvald, I think is going to be the biggest change. Maybe with Willow, she's probably going to stay down there in the ban phase. But, I mean, they went from high priority on the things they knew how to play, essentially playing the same meta they left with in the Premier League and at MSI, and they came into it and they noticed, well, that's not working. Last week, from day 1 to day 2, they changed a lot of how they kind of did that. And then from week 1 to week 2 for them, so week 6 to week 7 here, they just knocked it out of the park. Like, I don't know what kind of homework they did, how much grinding they have done, but it's like they locked themselves away in their home and just kind of, like, I mean, hyperbolic time chambered with balance. They just did whatever they could to train and just get better. And I mean, yesterday was night and day compared to the first game last week.
Right, exactly. We see that. Cassie also is being hovered SSG side, which will be good because they'll be able to deal with the tanks a little bit heavier. Barrack, Atlas, both having to worry about that big game damage. More than likely, she's going to end up picking Genos as well. Now, he's locked it. Now, this is, I know VP said it yesterday, but I also want to know what you think about this, Gore. Is that they said that they don't really see Genos being as important. They said that he'll feel like he'll stay the same, but once again, he's one of the only surviving damage amps characters when that patch comes out next week for PPO.
Well, it's one of those things, and it's actually, I would say, maybe easier to look at it, and less that he's the only one surviving. He's the only one not changing.
Right,
He's only at 15% right now. Torvald's getting brought in line with that. Tyra's getting brought in line with that, right? So everyone's going to be more uniform. Torvald right now is a little too much. Tyra, as she gets locked in there, is a little too much for where she comes through. I mean, 25%, you throw that on a Makoa, you throw that on the Khan, and that's a lot of damage that they're going to be taking in from every other source. And so you're going to line them up more with Genos, but we've seen how potent Genos can be. Yeah, he's not first pick. Sometimes he gets banned, but he enables compositions, and I think what we're going to see is Torvald and Tyra fall into that niche composition kind of area where it's just like sometimes they're going to work. And right now, I mean, Tyra's got her work cut out for her on this map, but I think she can do it. I
mean, 100%. And you mentioned it before. They do end up giving Eevee to, more than likely, Freeze God in this case. And that's going to be really, really monstrous for NIP to deal with. However, both of the teams are locked in. The compositions are ready to go. We're going to throw it down to the cashless booth to take us into the game.
All right. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Friday the 13th, so happy, unhappy. I'll leave that up to you. It's happy for us, though. We got some good matchups. Dolson Kresnik on the cast for set number 1. These are two teams that lost yesterday. Two teams